Okay, so that's a great place to start this recording, actually. Hold that thought. Hello, I'm Jacqueline, your host, and welcome to Cafecito Sin Mapa. I have my friend Effie with me today.
Yay.
Hi, Effie.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. It's a beautiful Saturday morning.
Is it? I haven't been outside yet.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Okay, so you literally just started asking about coffee. So tell the people, what is your coffee order?
So it's usually just a regular coffee with whole milk, but if I'm going the Greek route, it's kind of like a cold coffee that we have. It's really delicious.
I
People
didn't know
make
it
it
was
at,
cold.
yeah, it's cold. And well, I guess you can get it hot, but usually you get it cold. And there's like certain ways that you could take it. So I take it medium with milk or metrio merana. And so that just means medium sugar with milk.
Okay. Okay, so how do I make it? Because you asked if I was going to have it. I'd love to try it, but
You need to get Nescafe, this like Nescafe coffee grounds thing from the store. It's pretty much everywhere. And then we have this special shaker. And that's about as much as I know because usually my mom would make it for me. So
so you don't
um,
make it?
I don't make it, but I'm in Astoria, so they sell it literally at every coffee shop here. So we can, next time you're in the neighborhood, we can just get you some.
Okay, okay, okay. That sounds better because I feel like I'm gonna not make it right.
Mhm.
I'm not feeling very confident in my coffee skills for this one, so I'm just gonna come over and you're gonna take me to a Greek place. Actually, do you want to tell them the most embarrassing thing that I did?
Yes. So what was it, the second time we ever hung out or
Hmm.
something? We were in Brooklyn, just getting to know each other and shopping. I said we were looking for somewhere to get lunch. And I said, "Oh, how about this Greek place?" And you said, "Ew, I hate Greek food." And I said, "Oh, I'm Greek, though." It was like amazing moment. I'm never gonna forget your face.
You literally like, I'm Greek, right? And I was like,
Yeah, it was
no,
pretty
I
funny.
didn't. And then afterwards, it's like, I'm an idiot. Why do I not know that you're Greek? But
It was funny.
since then, you have taken me to a really good Greek place, and
Yes, it
you've
was
opened my
delicious.
my palate. So we're growing.
Yep, yep. There's more to come.
Yes, yes. Okay, so adding to that backstory, Effie and I met as Peloton pen pals, essentially.
Yeah.
We were both going to run a half marathon. This was back in like what, 2021? 22?
One,
1?
22, 21. It was before I moved here. 22, I think.
Okay, 21 or 22 because I'm
Yeah,
thinking 21, but you might
yeah,
be.
maybe 20, 21.
Uh, and she posted in a Peloton Facebook group because if you know anything about Peloton, it is a cult and there's all kinds of private groups. Anyway, so we ended up connecting through that and just like being on Messenger and like keeping each other accountable in our trainings.
Yeah.
And we had another girl that was a part of it too. But fate has it that I ended up moving to New York, and Effie was like, I'm also moving to New York. And
Yeah, it was wild.
it was so wild.
Yeah, like 6 months apart from each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
But
I mean, like, you were literally like probably my first friend that I made here.
yeah, same. So sure. I mean, already like friend before we even, I mean, I guess we didn't know if we would actually like hit it off in person
Yeah.
before we first met, right? Because Messenger is totally different, but
Yeah.
it was like pretty clear, I think, within like 30 minutes that we're like, okay, cool. We're gonna be
Yeah.
friends.
Yeah. Very quickly, I was like, oh, I'm definitely talking to her again.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Effie is an educator.
Mhm.
She's an activist. She's Greek Canadian. She's a spouse. She's a dog mama. She's an Aries. And she's an academic. So much to talk about. Where do we start? Okay, so I guess we can start with educator because I feel like that and academic can be grouped together.
For sure.
You are about to defend your dissertation.
I know, 4 weeks. Yeah, I think
Uh,
4 weeks away.
Yeah, it's on my calendar. How are you feeling?
I'm ready. I'm good to go. I feel like I've been ready for months. It was just a timing situation for like why it's happening now. So I'm just
Yeah.
ready to do it. I am packing because my program we have to do a public talk before we do the actual defense. And so the
Mhm.
public talk is going to be on Zoom since I'm in the States now, and it's open to anyone. So
Oh,
I'm
that's
just
the
gonna
one that I'm like gonna be
yeah, that's
sitting
what
in
you're gonna
on.
be at. Yeah. So I'm like packing the Zoom room full of friends and family so that I have that kind of build up right before I walk into the closed off defense, which is
Yeah.
like the actual like examination part. And I think that's gonna help a lot because I'll get to see everyone's faces and get the encouragement, and then I'll tackle the defense. I think it's gonna be fine.
Yeah. No, you're gonna do great.
Yeah.
Can you tell our listeners what is your dissertation on?
Yeah, so my dissertation is on these TikTok videos, which I've named self-insert fan vids. So my research is in fandom studies, digital media like TikTok, storytelling, and about 5 years ago now, I noticed that creators on TikTok were using the green screen to insert themselves into movies and TV shows that they really liked and like interacting with the characters. And I thought it was really interesting. I thought it had a lot of potential for reimagining stories, but also like pushing back on spaces that were exclusive or like exclusionary and weren't inclusive of different identities and people. And so I focused specifically on Harry Potter, and like that whole situation with she who must not be named. And so it was just really inspiring watching the videos. And as I kept watching them that summer, I was like, wait, this is something that needs to be studied. So I can't believe it was 5 years ago. But 5 years ago, I started working on this project of these self-insert fan vids on TikTok, and it's all coming to a close now.
That's so crazy. What like even drew you to this topic?
So when I was in my master's program, we had to do a final project, and I it was an English literature master's, and I couldn't pinpoint what I wanted to do like a thesis on. I was like, I don't think there's anything that I'm that passionate about besides just books in general. Like I couldn't find an area. And my advisor at the time was like, well, what do you read the most of? And I said fan fiction, because I had been reading it since I was a kid and I loved it. And she let me know that there was this whole field of people do like working on fan fiction, fandoms, and that kind of just shifted everything for me. So when I entered my PhD program, I entered with the intention to study fan fiction and to
Mm,
do a PhD on that. But then when these videos popped up, I kind of pivoted to like the video
yeah.
side of things. But yeah, I was just kind of pursuing something that I've been doing and reading since I was like 11.
Oh my
So
God,
yeah,
I love that. I have come to realize that fan fiction is really much bigger than I ever thought it was.
yeah,
And not only because you study it, but because I've like met random people that like as I get to know them, they're like, "Oh, I write fan fiction." And I'm just like, "What?"
yeah.
Like,
Well, I think like when I was like middle school, high school, you didn't talk about it. Like unless you
oh,
had friends that you knew were also into it, and like were nerdy like that, then you guys would talk like you'd talk about it with those friends. But you weren't if somebody asked you like what's your hobby, you wouldn't necessarily be like I write fan fiction. It was kind of shut like it was frowned upon. It was kind of like not cool,
yeah.
um and it's become a lot more mainstream in the last like even 10 years. So I think that's why like for us growing up we knew of it, but it always like you probably knew of it, but it felt like something like weird, like fringe kind of thing,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, I remember God, it's probably been like 10 years. Yeah, because I'm 30 now. So, like 10 years ago, I found out about fan fiction, and I guess it was through Twitter. I think so. Well, I had somehow stumbled upon it.
Yeah.
And I started reading fan fiction about Grey's Anatomy.
There you go. Why
And
not?
but I would never tell anybody about that. I was like, this is so embarrassing. Like, why am I reading this shit? Like, I'm so obsessed with Grey's Anatomy that I'm reading these like
Mhm.
crazy stories that at the end they weren't even about Grey's Anatomy. It was like the characters, but like putting
Yeah.
them in a whole different light. Um, yeah, and I don't think I ever even told people about that until I moved to New York and they started meeting people that were actually into fan fiction. So I was like, this is weird.
Yeah. No, it's like it's exactly that, right? It's like you love something so much that you want to keep being in the world of it. And before it was mostly just media, so TV, movies, books, things like that, right? Nowadays, especially for like younger generations, there's a lot of what we call RPF, which is real person fiction, which is like they'll write about like celebrities. So it was the big one was One Direction on Wattpad
Oh,
in like the 2010s, I want to say, writing a lot of like One Direction fan fiction, literally about the human beings, like the real people of the band.
uh-huh.
And so that's become much more common than it was, let's say, when I first started reading it, it was really just a TV show you loved and you wanted it to keep going, or in between seasons, you're like, I need more, and so you go looking for fan fiction to read it, or if your favorite couple broke up, you
Gosh.
know you're gonna find people online who agree with you that they shouldn't have broken up, or gonna write fan fiction where they like live happily ever after. So it's
That's
definitely
literally the
that.
stuff I was reading.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. It's definitely that. And a lot of what we talk about in fan studies is also the fact that like people from marginalized identities tend to use fan fiction to also, similarly to what I studied in my dissertation, to also create spaces for themselves in these stories. And so whether it's, shipping two male characters together so that there's like a queer narrative in the story that doesn't actually exist, or whether it's like a self-insert where you put yourself or an original character that's a person of color into the story, like that's another potential in fan fiction that I
Yeah.
think, authors are doing, that they're not necessarily saying, oh, I'm doing this to write back, or I'm doing this to like rebel against the story, but that's what it does, right? And so
Mhm.
that's really interesting too.
That is really interesting. Okay, so that actually kind of brings us to the next one. You said you're an activist. Can you tell us a little bit about that? What are some of like the main, I think, issues, or what do you even call it? Like topics that you're passionate
Yeah.
about?
Um, I think I always like was involved in, volunteering, service work, things like that. I was in a nonprofit for a while that was about kind of like upholding like Greek communities in the Greek diaspora across like North America. So I was in that for like 8 or 9 years or something. But when I was at my school in Canada for my PhD program, I started to really get more involved in um, gender-based violence activism in particular, and that led to other things. So basically, September 2021, there was this during O week, like orientation week at my school. There was this like um, incident where several or quite a few girls were drugged. Thankfully, nobody was physically assaulted, but there was definitely like this mass situation that happened. And I reached out to some of the undergrads um who I had heard the next day were like planning to like do something about it. And as a graduate student, and I was also involved with the student government of the graduate students, I was like, oh, if you need any support from us, let us know. This was in a like an Instagram like DM group, like group chat thing. Within 5 days, so this happened on a Saturday. Everybody found out on Sunday. By Monday, I was in the group chat. By Friday, we had organized a 10,000 person walkout on our campus. It was wild. And I was so inspired by the undergrad students because they really, like, I was very, like, just there as support. I'm like, okay, coordinate with campus security because we had to figure out our route. I'll coordinate, the president wanted to speak to us when he found out about the walkout. And so I went to that meeting with another graduate student, rather than having the undergrads be in a situation where they might feel intimidated by the president of like a massive university.
Yeah.
And so we were really like a support for them, but I was so inspired by like what they did in 5 days, like, and how powerful it was that a whole community, like a whole town, came out for it. They had organized like a series of speakers. They found um, what's it called, like crisis counselors to be in the crowd in case anybody was like triggered by what they were hearing. They found like an ASL uh
Wow.
not reader, like an ASL speaker to like sign the whole program as it was happening. We were so It was such a big crowd. I remember the head of campus security had told me, I was like, it's probably going to be a couple hundred people because I thought in 5 days there's no way.
Mhm.
And he was like, I think it's going to be a couple thousand. And I thought that was so off base. And he was like, so I think this is the route we're going to do. And so he like planned this route. Day of, he comes up to me as we're watching this crowd get bigger and bigger, and he's like, we don't even have the space to like walk this crowd. He's like, we can't go around, like there's no space. So we basically had to go down this long avenue, and then when the front of the crowd hit it, we literally all like turned our bodies around and went back up it. Like that was our march because it was such a like we just couldn't go anywhere.
Oh my gosh.
It was really, yeah, it was very impactful. Afterwards, my peers and I from that event co-founded a nonprofit called Safe Campus Coalition that we ran for like 4 years. We just shuttered the doors a few months ago because we've all kind of moved and it just wasn't making sense for us at the moment. And there were also so many other organizations doing great work that we didn't want to, take up space when, attention could go to them. But since then, like I've kind of embraced being that person more. And so, in terms of like my teaching and how I exist in the world, it's really focused on things like accessibility, inclusiveness, but also activism in the way of like telling your story and making sure that people know what's going on in the world and know what, lived experiences others are existing in. So it's kind of like baked into anything. It's baked into my dissertation. It's or baked into everything. My dissertation, my teaching, hopefully how I like exist in the world, But
It is.
it
It
was
is
like,
because I told you this, didn't I, about Katie? We had gotten into it for some reason about
yeah.
me being closed-minded about a situation.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And and she was like, I need you to go talk to Effie and come back to me when you like have regrouped your thoughts.
yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean like that whole part is like also I think academia helps a lot. Like I kind of pivoted a little bit of to be a little bit more focused on like feminism or feminist theory, queer theory, and like that space where I wasn't necessarily fully in before. And I think that's been really helpful too, which is probably why Katie said that as well, right? Like it's
Yeah.
just it's helpful to have the language to talk, talk these things through and to understand them.
Yeah, for sure. Um, and that's coming from like Katie who barely knows you. So the fact that she, from a completely outside perspective, was like, Effie is a feminist. Okay, so shifting gears a little bit, you said it kind of started with you being involved in like Greek,
Mhm.
right? Like, what was that? It was a Greek organization, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's called AHEPA. It's a Greek nonprofit. It's an international nonprofit. It was established first in the States in the 1920s as a response to anti-Greek immigration, like sentiments from Americans who were already here. Yeah, so it's kind of set up like the Masons in that there's like a men's group, a young men's group, a women's group, and a young women's group, and there's like weird titles like Grand President or whatever. But yeah, so I joined that. I think it was 2010 when I joined it, and I think it was 2018 or 2019 when I finished. And I was in the young women's section. And I went all the way up to grand vice president before I ended my time with them. And mostly like it was fun. Mostly it was, traveling across Canada and the US, meeting different people, lots of fun weekends in cities across the country. But we also did a lot of fundraising. Every year we had like a national project that we would support. Juvenile diabetes was one year. Friedreich's ataxia, which is a neurodegenerative disease that
Mm.
one of our friends has, was another year. We raised money for that, so that was kind of, but it's a much more like it's not necessarily activism, right? Like I think that's kind of like dipping my toe into like service and giving back, but it's
Yeah.
not, I don't see it in the same way as I see activism.
Yeah. I can understand that. Can we talk a little bit more about your Greek Canadian identity? Because
Yeah.
I find that so fascinating with how like you were still so. Tell us about the school you went to growing up.
Yeah, so in Montreal, where I'm from, we have quite a few language schools, and the Greek community has four campuses of this school called Socrates, or like Socrates Elementary or something like that. And so I went to that school, and it's a trilingual school. So every day we had classes in English, Greek, and French because Montreal is in Quebec and French is required. French was actually the main language that we did classes in because the language schools used to belong to the French Montreal School Board. And so we followed their rules for how you did different classes. And so I think, if I'm remembering correctly, it was like 60% had to be in French, and then like 30% was in Greek and 10% was in English or something. But we were all Anglophone, like amongst ourselves, we all spoke English and things like
Uh,
that. But yeah, so I did that for elementary school, which is first to sixth grade in Montreal. And then for high school, which is seventh to 11th grade in Montreal, I went to Greek Saturday School for all those years. I actually think Greek Saturday School was 6 years. And I went every Saturday for 6 years of my life. So and then my daycare was also trilingual. So I started daycare at 18 months old, and I finished going to Greek school when I was 18 years old. So a lot of Greek school.
I love that so much.
Yeah. Yeah. Both my parents are immigrants, and so it was important to them for me to like, well, important to my mom for me to like be in Greek culture and Greek language. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love that because I think as someone whose parents are also immigrants, I had a very different experience growing
Hmm.
up. Like you are very much in like tune with the Greek side of you. And for me, it was like I kind of kept it separate. I mean, go ahead and tell them what you told me
Yeah.
recently.
I was gonna say, I was like, I literally, when I met Jackie, I literally like did not think that you spoke Spanish at all because you downplayed it so much. Like I think I even asked you, I was like, oh, do you speak Spanish? Like, are you really kind of like in touch with like your Mexican culture and stuff? And you're like, no, not really. And so I genuinely did not even think you spoke Spanish until I heard you ordering, like, what, 3 months ago at like a restaurant or something, and I was like, girl, that's like fluent Spanish. What do you mean? Like, I was so surprised. And it's like 2 years into knowing you.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I thought that was crazy because, yeah, it's just definitely something I don't really even talk about. And I think I've more embraced it now, like
Yeah, I would say you
in the
have.
last, like, probably year, 2 years. Um, but it was really funny whenever I ordered, I think I was ordering coffee and you were like,
Yeah. Yeah. I can hear it, right? Like
yeah,
when you speak another language, like I think you can hear easily, even if it's a language you don't know, you can tell when somebody's fluent in it or not, right? Because you can hear it because you know how it sounds in your own language, that fluency. And
yeah.
so as soon as you said those like three words, I was like, hello? Like, yeah.
That
So,
was so funny.
but I think that that's like, what I've noticed, this is like, anecdotally, what I've noticed is the difference between the US and Canada just from like my traveling. In particular, my side of Canada, like the kind of Montreal, like
Mhm.
East Coast side of Canada. I'm not so sure about the West side because I haven't even been there. But I think that immigration waves here happened much earlier than they did in Canada. And there was an early on a push for, quote unquote assimilation, right? Like
Mhm.
if you're coming here for the American dream, you're embracing like America as like an identity. And I think that there's a lot more push for that here. Whereas when the big waves were happening in Canada and in particular in like Montreal and that side of the country, um, it was later. So like for example, Greeks came to the States in big waves in the turn of the century, so like 1900, 1910, 1920.
Okay.
So by the time we're talking about our generation, they've been here 100 years, right? Whereas like in Montreal, the big wave happened in the 60s and 70s. So like
Oh.
my mom, right? Like that was the big wave. So it's very, very new immigrants still in Montreal. But also the prime minister at the time was very pro immigration. And so there was this sense of like, you should retain your culture. Like we get taught in school that y'all are the melting pot, right? Like America is a melting pot. We're a cultural mosaic. So you guys like make everyone American and we embrace all the identities. And I always thought it was like kind of corny, but then when I started meeting a lot of Greek Americans, I was like, oh, actually, like I see that difference.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
and that's so beautifully said. Like the comparison, like
Yeah. I can't take
because
credit for it. I definitely learned that in school, which I guess is kind of like sassy of our school teachers to like set it up that way. But
well, the fact that y'all even like talk about that because I can't tell you I know nothing about Canada,
mm, yeah, I know
unfortunately. But
that's not your fault.
no, it's just born in America. Okay. Was in the American school system.
Yep.
Okay, so let's shift gears a bit. This one's fun. Tell me about you being an Aries, Miss Little Fire sign.
Oh my gosh, I think I'm so textbooks like Aries most of the time. I think as I've gotten older, I've been a little bit less because I'm a little calmer,
Mhm.
a little more medicated, so that helps. But definitely when I was like younger, I feel like really textbook Aries. I love I used to like really love an argument. Now arguments make me emotional, but I used to like love an argument, love debating. Like definitely was in debate club. Definitely
Wait, that's
was
funny because debating kind of like makes you get a little like you shut down a little bit now then.
yeah. I get too emotional now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why. Something to note
Interesting.
down to talk to Dr. Renee about, but I don't, yeah, I do. I do. We used to like when I was younger, my brother and I would have these like big debates at the table, like just going on and on. And now, like if we get into one of those, like I start crying, like I get really emotional. I don't know what it is.
Oh.
I think I just I have a frustration that I'm not feeling I don't feel heard, like I don't feel
Mm.
understood in what I'm saying. My brain is sometimes like moves faster than my mouth can keep up, it feels like. And I am not saying things the right way. Like, how many times have I like rephrased something or been like, wait, like I
Yeah.
I like ramble when I'm like passionate about something and then I get frustrated that someone's not understanding me. And so I think that's why. But when I was a teenager, I didn't care. I was like, I'll just yell louder, like until you get it. Now I'm just more conscious of it. Um, but I was in debate club. I did used to say that I wanted to be president of the world. When I was like 14, when people would ask me what I wanted to be when I grew up, I would say president of the world. Like, no joke.
I'd vote for you.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't think there's enough anxiety medication in the world for me to take on a job like that and survive it. But yeah, that would be nice. Yeah, what else? Definitely can't hide my emotions on my face when I'm annoyed. I feel like that's really
Mm.
Aries. I don't know. Yeah, I feel very Aries though. I always have felt that way.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Aries are usually more like type A. personalities.
No, because I think Aries also like to make things messy and chaotic, you
Yeah.
know? But I think they like the external world to be messy and chaotic because they like enjoy that. But I think internally, like order is more, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I feel like my best friend Corley, she's an Aries and same, like she's totally fine with like certain things being chaotic, but
Yeah,
she has like her routine and like
right.
own structure. And I feel like you're the same way. And I
Yeah.
don't know if the common denominator is me being the chaos in y'all's life or what it is, but I was thinking about this before we hopped on because I was like, am I the chaos of my friends? Because everyone's way more type A than I am, and like we've talked about this. Like you said, like I kind of make you feel make you with schedules.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think I was, but I also think it's age too. Like, I think I was more chaotic, spontaneous, very impulsive when I was younger. Like I think I've mellowed that out a
Yeah.
lot. So I think for me that plays a big part, but I was definitely a lot more chaotic. Never late. I've never been a person who's late, but I've definitely been impulsive, and spontaneous and like drama, like drawn sometimes, like just needing the tea, like needing to have my input in what's going on.
Eating the tea.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
I feel like for me, I've definitely always been like, I don't know. I like the chaos. I've always been late to everything,
Hmm.
but I blame that on being Mexican because
Sure.
our entire like parties and everything is like you set the time to be 5, but you're really not expecting people to get there till 6.
Yeah, yeah,
Thing,
yeah,
there's always like an hour buffer. So
yeah.
the fact that I'm only 15 minutes late is
It's
actually
a
really,
win. Yeah.
yeah. And I'm getting better at it.
Well, it's like funny you said that about the parties because we had a housewarming party when we lived in Canada. We had moved into a townhouse and we had this like Canadian Thanksgiving slash, or no, I think it was American Thanksgiving slash housewarming party. And so I had made like a ton of food and like done up the house and whatever. And it was like set to start at 7 and people didn't show up till like 8. And I was so upset. The food was like cold. Like I was like so mad. My one friend Celine showed up on time and she waited like 10 minutes and then she was like, well, I'm digging into the food. If they're not here, like I'm not waiting. And I was like, let's just do it, which like kind of helped. But yeah, I'm like, if I set a time, in my mind, that's the time I have to arrive. So if
Yes.
you ever host a party, you better tell me the time you want me to be there, not the time, like not the fake time.
No, I'm definitely better about that now. Like, if I'm hosting something, I'm setting it for the time that I want people to be at.
Hmm.
Like, I don't structure things that way, but I think like my internal clock is just
Yeah.
always late. And it doesn't matter if I try, like, I've tried and something happens. I will
Hmm.
leave 15, 30 minutes before I'm supposed to so that I'm actually on time and the train's delayed or something happens and I'm still late.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, here, I think that living in New York helps so much with that on my end because it's like you cannot control what time you arrive.
No,
Like, you can do your best, but if you get to your train station and all of the lines leaving Queens are delayed, well, you're not going to get there on
you're
time. And that's
SOL.
just
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I joke that I'm gonna be late to my own funeral. So, all right. So let's talk about you being a spouse and a dog mom.
Yeah. It
How long
is
have
my
you been
dog.
married?
We have been married for a little over 4 years. 4 years and 4 months. 4 years and 5 months tomorrow. Monday.
Tomorrow. Aw.
Monday, yeah. Yes, we got married April 1st, 2021.
Did you mean to do it on April Fool's Day?
No. We did it on April Fool's Day because it was so We were not married when COVID happened and we were living in different countries. I was in Canada and Adam was in the States. And then when COVID happened, they shut the borders down and you could not cross the border if you weren't married or like an immediate relative. So we couldn't see each other for a year. And then to get to see each other, we had to get paperwork notarized. So we did this in like October or something, 2020. We had to get notarized paperwork that we were in a committed relationship of over 2 years length so that we can cross the border and see each other. Like it was wild. It was, I don't think anybody knew what they were doing at that time. And so Adam came to Canada end of December 2020 and he proposed. And we basically, for the next few months, were like in Canada trying to figure out when we can get married based on lockdowns. So we were
Oh.
like, kept calling City Hall and they kept pushing it off because the government would lock down again. Canada had much stricter lockdowns and quarantines than you guys did in the States. So it was like, I think originally we had a date set for February and then there was like a 6 week lockdown. And then at one point they just called us and they were like, okay, we think there's going to be like these few days between lockdowns. And it was like, like end of March, early April. Do you want one of them? And we're like, yes. And so we grabbed like a time on April 1st and yeah, so that's our official anniversary now.
That's
Yeah, it
crazy.
was wild. Yeah, but we were still able to, even with COVID and everything, we were still able, like, we got I had a white dress, Adam had his suit, I got my makeup and hair done. Our dog Bacardi, who has passed away now, he had a little bow tie, he was all decked out. And then we had our two friends were our witnesses, and then two other friends came afterwards, and we all went to like a Airbnb for like a little mini party. They got us a cake and
Aw.
yeah, it was really cute. And then Adam and I and Bacardi stayed at the B&B for a couple of nights as like a little mini honeymoon. Yeah.
Aw. And so then Bacardi passed, and now you
Yeah.
have,
Betty. Betty
where is
Spaghetti. It's here. Hold on. Get her.
say, I know she wasn't very far from you.
There she is.
I love that so much.
Yeah, Betty. She is 4.5 because she was born March 31st, the day before we got married.
Aw,
Yeah.
that's sweet.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so what is it like being a dog mom? Because I think you're very much a dog mom. Aside from you owning a dog, you are a dog mom. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Oh, 100%. I'm like the person who tells my friends who have toddlers that I understand what they're going through because my dog is the same. And Adam tells me to stop telling people that
I,
their
I
kids remind me of my dog.
I don't know that you can compare children to dogs.
Listen, you haven't had a dog, you don't know, okay? They are very similar. Like literally, my friends will be like, "Oh, my toddler like threw up and I had to like cuddle him all evening because he felt sick." And I'm like, "That
I
happens to
do that.
Betty." Exactly, you know? Or like, "Oh, my toddler's throwing a tantrum because I took their favorite toy away." Same. Like that happens with Betty. It's not different at all. Except I don't have to change diapers. I pick up poop, but that's it.
See, it's almost like she knows Olive just came out and she's like, "What are y'all talking about?
You think you talking about me?
Am I not your baby?"
But yeah, definitely a dog mom. I mean, we're dog parents for sure. Like both of our lives revolve around the dog. It was easier when we were in Canada. We had huge dog park that we went to every day after work with our dog park friends. There were beautiful trails to like take her for a walk through and all of that. And then we moved to New York. There's
There
Olive.
she is.
She's so cutie. She's so pretty. Hi, Olive.
Are you gonna say hi?
No, she's
No,
asleep.
she's you say you have a baby. I have
Yeah,
a baby.
yeah. We're so lucky.
But when she throws up, she's just like, clean it up and leave me alone.
Yeah.
She's like, peasant, I left you a gift.
She's an independent woman.
She
There she
is.
is.
Get down.
Yeah,
Monkey,
and
monkey.
in yeah, so in Canada we had a lot of like outdoors. We had a little yard because we had a townhouse. So Betty was living her best life. She's always like sassy and weird, but like she was definitely like a little nicer in Canada. And then we
Oh.
moved here and she was like, "What is this place?" Like she's like, "New York City, no thank you." And so
Was it
she's
an adjustment for her to poop on the concrete?
not so much the like pooping and peeing, like she was fine with that, I think, because she would like walk on sidewalks and stuff. And so I don't think that was weird, but the noise, definitely. The people, like so many people around her, um, that was like that's still what she's struggling with. And so she's very she's very like standoffish and she barks at everyone as soon as she meets them.
Yeah,
She
she
has
does.
she has a thing on her leash that says I need space because people look at her and they're like so cute and they immediately like go to touch her and she's like I hate you, go away. And so she's definitely she definitely struggles a little bit in the city. We went to the dog, not to the dog park, we went to the park Thursday morning. We went, got up early, and we went to a park near us, like 20-minute walk, um, for like off leash hours with
Oh,
her bestie Peanut.
peanut. Uh-huh.
And she did great off leash. Like her socializing was great. She wasn't like, mean or anything. But when she's on a cramped New York sidewalk and there's like kids running, because we live on the same street as a school, right? So there's like kids running or like on their scooters going down the street and there's like people and other dogs and stuff and she's on leash, she's just not friendly.
Yeah.
So it is what it is, but we
Do you
love
think it's
her.
like leash aggression?
She didn't have that before, so I don't think it's that she feels, because I think that's like when they feel like unsafe or like they can't protect
Hmm.
themselves or whatever on a leash. I don't think it's that. I just think it's like it's not a wide open space. She grew up in like the first 2 years of her life, she was in such wide open spaces, whether it was like the big dog park or the trails which ran behind like where our townhouse was, or our town, like living in a two-story townhouse compared to a two-room,
Yeah.
apartment. I think she's just, and I know that her bestie Peanut just moved to a bigger place, and um, apparently she like loves it because she could like run around so much and stuff. She's with like
Oh.
zoomies through the house, so I think she likes the big spaces.
Oh.
I think that means we need to move to a bigger apartment.
I know Adam's back there, so
Yeah,
hint, hint.
he's pretending not to listen.
Okay, typical Adam. All right. Well, I think we've gone through all of your list of identities.
And that's wild.
I know. Well, I know there's so much more, but the ones you listed, we've
Yeah.
talked about those. Any last thoughts for the listeners on what the takeaway should be on listening to your story?
No, I really liked your conversation about like it was nice to like reflect on the like kind of activism and that stuff. I said earlier I'm actually on my way this afternoon to a puzzle swap because community is also like really important to me and I think that goes hand in hand with like activism. It's funny because a friend said to me, I don't know why you do these things like you're such a extrovert. And I was like, I'm not really extroverted. I just like community, like I'm not necessarily like the person. I mean, I love my friends, but I'm also very, very happy being home like home doing my puzzles.
Yeah.
But I love the idea of like walking out of the house and like knowing your neighbor or like having your bodega or whatever, right? And so
Yeah.
I think that goes hand in hand with like the activism stuff, what I learned from that experience and how it like has impacted all my work. So I talk a lot about in my job materials, which is like my things that I submit to job applications before when I didn't have a job. I talk a lot about this theme of like care and community as like what is most important to me. And so I think that's like a big one. Is I'm thinking about the puzzles. This is a puzzle swap this afternoon. I'm thinking about our conversation on activism. So I think those are
Yeah.
kind of my two words or like my like that's what the takeaway should be. Those are my two words, like care and community.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that so much. Thanks for joining me today.
You're welcome. Can't wait to take you for some Greek coffee soon.
No, literally, I'm about to get on an Uber and probably go down, down and have some today.
Come on.
All
Come on out over to Astoria.
right, hold on.